We may have just witnessed the best SummerSlam of the last 10 years. Almost entirely brilliant matches, almost entirely sensible booking, and Jesus Christ, Cultaholic defeat the WrestleTwats. Oh, it's a little bit cold in here. I need a jacket or something. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and this is what happened at SummerSlam 2018. We kick things off with the pre-show, Rusev and Lana taking on Andrade, Cien, Almas and Zelina Vega, and I still can't get over this. Last month, Rusev was facing AJ Styles for the WWE title. This month, he's on the pre-show in a mixed tag, performing in front of an arena which is maybe 25% full. Depressing. Fair play to Lana here, whose confidence has grown massively over recent months. She was really pretty impressive here. She can really hold her own. It's a shame that she has to rely on some of Rusev's shtick. You know, the Rusev Day, Lana Day, Rusev Crush, Lana Crush. Also surprising not to see Aiden English in this one at all. Not too much else to say here. Zelina Vega picking up the win with a dirty pin. No issue there at all. At least Rusev wasn't pinned. It's just a shame that Zelina Vega's legs are a little bit too short to cheat properly. Next up, Cedric Alexander versus Drew Gulak for the Cruiserweight title. I'm going to ignore the fact that this is the match where we went one down to the WrestleTwats. It's not important. It's definitely not important. Unfortunately, this one was less exciting than it should have been, with Cedric Alexander picking up the pin via a roll-up, when the story in the match was that Cedric Alexander's neck was hurt, Drew Gulak was working the neck, but it just never really went anywhere. It felt a shame that this one ended up in a roll-up. Worse still, the finish was botched, and more frustrating is that this was such a tremendous opportunity to showcase the incredible talent that is on 205 Live, and it just failed to do that. I don't know if this was down to time constraints, but it felt rushed and just underwhelming. Not a bad match, but not the great match that it could have been. Final pre-show match, the B team taking on the Revival for the Raw tag titles, and 3 matches, 3 roll-up victories. What is going on here? I didn't actually mind this one too much. So Dawson and Axel were in the ring, and then Bo Dallas falls on top of them, meaning that Axel was able to pick up a roll-up victory. That works for their character, that's fine. I just didn't understand why they had to do a different roll-up for the 2 previous matches, especially the Cruiserweight match. Still incredibly frustrated with the Revival's booking since they were called up from NXT. I think we all worried that it may be the case that casual fans wouldn't get what they do, but a win here could have really helped legitimize them, and that just didn't happen. The B team have lost the majority of their momentum over the previous months, and this would have been a good time for them to drop the titles. It's just the Revival. I really like them. I really like them. Can we get an F in the comments for Dash and Dawson? Let's go on with the main card. Seth Rollins with Dean Ambrose taking on Dolph Ziggler with Drew McIntyre for the IC title, and what a great choice of match to kick things off, get the crowd hyped now that they're actually in the arena. In the early stages, this match did feel a little bit slower than some of Dolph and Seth's previous encounters, but it did pick up for sure towards the end with all of the usual spots, the suicide dive, the ripcord knee, the blockbuster, you know the score, you've seen the matches. And can we just talk about that inverted suplex to sidewalk slam? Jesus Christ, that was good. Loved the finish with Dean Ambrose hitting the dirty deeds on the outside. Looked like it was going to cause the distraction, but Dolph Ziggler sets up for the super kick, but eats a super kick from Seth Rollins. Curb stomp, 1, 2, 3. Absolutely beautiful stuff. So we all expected a Dean heel turn. That didn't happen, but hey, perhaps it is a little bit too early. This match was a fantastic opener. Props to both Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler for doing what they do best, having really good wrestling matches. Next up, the Bludgeon Brothers taking on the New Day for the SmackDown Live tag titles, and this was pretty much exactly what we expected. A high-energy match filled with solid tag team action and big spots, and I'm not quite sure what happened with the stalling with the backbreaker on the outside, but it did lead to Woods hitting this unbelievably perfect elbow drop to the outside. Fair play. A disappointing finish with Rowan purposely getting the Bludgeon Brothers disqualified so they would retain the SmackDown Live tag titles by using one of those big hammers. But I will say that A, I like the idea that they're panicking because they know they've got a genuine threat in the New Day, and B, I'm glad they're using the hammers because they've been carrying those around for absolutely ages and not really used them at all. It should have still been sanity though. We then got Kevin Owens versus Braun Strowman for the Money in the Bank briefcase, and up until this point, this was the best match on the card. Not because it was actually the best match on the card, but because it evened the score between Cultaholic and the Wrestle Twats. Kevin Owens bumping like an absolute maniac, I worry about you, and Braun Strowman being every bit the big, terrifying bastard that he should be, I love you. A lot of people are unhappy with this one, saying it buries Kevin Owens, and I'm not going to argue with that. There are certainly tens of wrestlers that I would rather see in that position than Kevin Owens, because he's so entertaining. But I will say that we have a legitimate monster in Braun Strowman, and that's a good thing. We've got a legitimate monster that turns up, unlike the legitimate monster in the main event tonight. I hope Owens moves on to bigger and better things. Of course I do. He deserves better. But for what it was, this match was entertaining. Next up, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair versus Carmella for the SmackDown Women's title, and some clever storytelling here in the early stages. Carmella trying to trick Becky Lynch and Charlotte into fighting each other because she knew that she couldn't handle them both on her own. And that's what Carmella should have been all along, this conniving, desperate chicken heel, and that's not what we got with Carmella, and I think that's tainted her reign. She was picking up clean wins over the likes of Asuka, over the likes of Charlotte Flair, and it wasn't really working, so it was good to see that happen tonight. That said, Carmella really did hold her own here. I remember seeing a video backstage at NXT where Triple H told Enzo and Cass that they were being called up to the main roster, but Carmella wasn't quite ready yet. This match was absolute proof that she has improved more than either of that pair. Eventually, Charlotte wins after Becky locks in the disarmer, but let's talk about what happened after the match. So Charlotte is celebrating her win in the ring, and then Becky and Charlotte embrace. They embrace again, and then Becky absolutely demolishes Charlotte Flair, dragging her outside over the announce table. This was beautiful. The crowd were going absolutely mental, and a lot of people have asked, is this really a heel turn if Becky is justified? And I'm going to go with absolutely yes, because although Becky, it should have been her moment tonight, she was actually just out-wrestled by Charlotte. Charlotte didn't cheat to pick up the win. So yes, this is a heel turn, and I can't wait to see where they go with it. SmackDown on Tuesday night is so important for Becky Lynch. It's so important to see that heel character solidified. If we get a backstage promo with Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch in Dr. Shelby's office, I am just going to give up on wrestling. Next up, AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for the WWE title, and strange placement on the card here. This is going on before the US title match, even before Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin, but when you've got two main titles on a card, it's always going to happen, so I'm not too worried. So before the match even starts, Joe grabs the mic and references AJ Styles' family who are in the crowd, and then finishes the promo by saying, "Daddy's coming home." Joe was gold here. Absolute gold. For my money, not only is Joe the best talker on SmackDown, but probably the WWE as a whole, and yes, that does include The Miz. After a few months of losses, the most important thing for me here was Joe coming across as a viable threat, a legitimate main event contender, and this match did just that. Joe came across as every bit the badass that he should be presented as. Some great moments here, especially AJ Styles hitting the Styles Clash on Joe and Joe kicking out, which is huge in itself. Later on, AJ Styles locks in the calf crusher. Joe grabs AJ's head, pounds it into the mat again and again, completely ruthless, ends up locking in the Coquina clutch. Wonderful stuff. But once again, this match is all about the finish. Samoa Joe's on the outside, stands on an announce table, and announces to AJ Styles' daughter that he will be her new daddy. AJ completely snaps, grabs a chair, lays Joe out, causing a DQ. AJ retains the belt, Joe wins, technically. I loved this. So often we've seen WWE be quite lazy with their Hell in a Cell builds, but AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe at this point feels like it needs to be contained within that structure. It's personal, it's intense, and this match set up a Hell in a Cell match beautifully without the audience feeling shortchanged. This was perfect booking. It's then time for Elias's concert. Elias comes down and, like only he can, runs down the crowd. Anyone else, that would feel like the cheapest of cheap heat, but Elias, it just completely works for him. He sets up to play his latest and greatest song, but snaps the guitar, and that's it. Don't buy Fender brand guitars. Also, he let out an F-bomb. 5 stars. Next up, Daniel Bryan versus The Miz in what has been an incredible 8-year build. And this match, some people were disappointed by, and I feel differently. The reason that I didn't feel disappointed is because you have to look at this match as another chapter in The Miz versus Daniel Bryan. This match was never going to be the end of that story. This is just setting up another rematch or series of rematches, just like the match before it. AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. This match laid the groundwork for what will be more intense, more fast-paced matches. I know some people were disappointed by the pace of this match, but things are only going to get better. Some cool storyline stuff in the match. Every time The Miz would try and use Bryan's signature offense, Bryan would outsmart him, and he would eventually lay the punches into The Miz's face just like he said he would. The Miz starts throwing his own punches and then later starts hitting the yes kicks, and then after a few of them, Daniel Bryan starts just leaning into them, then starts bitch slapping Miz and kicks him down. The finish comes after The Miz lays Daniel Bryan out, hitting him in the face with a foreign object handed to him by Maurice. Great poetic justice here. The Miz, afraid to take a punch, but then lays out Daniel Bryan with a punch of his own, even if it was a punch involving a foreign object. We then get Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin, and Finn Balor brings out the demon in a match against Baron Corbin that means almost nothing at all. Regardless, a fun squash match, and one that actually did a terrific job of re-establishing Finn Balor as a genuine threat. Now just give him proper feuds and let him win. We then get Jeff Hardy versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the US title in a battle that is not only for the US title, but also a battle to see who can be the creepiest while still remaining quite cool. Not too much to say about this one. I did enjoy each man copying the other man's taunts. We've reached the point with Jeff Hardy where when he does something completely insane, something death-defying, like the Swanton Bomb to the apron in this match, people no longer cheer, they just sort of gasp and hope he's okay. Nakamura predictably wins with a Kinshasa, which is the right result, and hopefully this gives Jeff a bit of time to rest up, do some painting, and release some more questionable music. Oh, and after the match, Randy Orton comes out, rubs his hands a little bit, and then walks back up the ramp, earning that paycheck. Next up, Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's title. I love you, Ronda Rousey. I love you so much. This is the reason that Cultaholic beat Wrestle Talk. Okay, I will talk about the match a little bit. Alexa Bliss runs away. Ronda Rousey lures Alexa Bliss back into the ring. Ronda Rousey dominates Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss has her arm snapped by Ronda Rousey. That's pretty much it. Ronda Rousey wins, Cultaholic wins, everybody wins. Sure, there were more squash matches than we were expecting on this show tonight, but this is one that made absolute sense. I thought it was a great showing for Rousey. She looks terrific. She just gets wrestling, doesn't she? She just gets the storytelling. She's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. I love you, Ronda Rousey. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. I'm going to have to bullet point this one because there's quite a lot to get through. Lesnar and Reigns are in the ring. Paul Heyman does his intro, and then out comes Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman reveals that whoever wins this match, he's going to cash in on them tonight. Braun Strowman's on the outside of the ring. Roman Reigns hits Superman punch after Superman punch, spear after spear. I thought that we had another Goldberg Lesnar on our hands. Fortunately not. Brock takes control, Suplex City, and then Roman Reigns goes for a spear. Brock sidesteps, and then Roman flies through the ropes, taking out Braun Strowman, and then Brock Lesnar comes out and lays Braun out with an F5 and then lobs the briefcase a billion miles away, literally. Brock Lesnar gets back in the ring with a chair, immediately eats a spear from Roman Reigns, and your new Universal Champion is a big dog with a big red belt, and I'm not even mad. Not even mad at all. Sure, this match was nothing special at all, but the last 3 years have been a complete mess. A complete and utter mess, and I'm just glad that Brock's reign is over. Tonight was a wonderful night of wrestling from start to finish, and reaffirms what we already know. When WWE do things right, they can produce some of the best entertainment in the world and make you proud to be a wrestling fan. And tonight was one of those nights for sure. I'm a very, very happy boy. Thank you very much for watching. Screw you, Wrestle Twats! See you soon. That's all from me. Thanks for watching, and you can follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.